Good morning everyone. Today we're about to start our project here of trying to move this shed. Yesterday was definitely the first day of the year that I've been working outside. My body can definitely tell that. But today we're going to be trying to move this thing right here and seeing what happens. So it could be an interesting process. I'm going to take you along for it. So right there is about the point that I got to where I decided that I was going to have to mainly set up the camera for most shots and just kind of help out with what was going on. So the rest of this, I just kind of set the camera up to show what we were doing, but I will just now kind of explain things as I show you the video shots. So our shed was built with plastic panel walls on kind of a track system, so we knew it was going to be difficult to move as one piece. So we started off by removing the screws that held the roof to the sidewalls and then also the screws that held the roof to the end gables. Unfortunately, a lot of our screws had either cracked the plastic over time because of temperature warping or the plastic itself just cracked. So we were holding our breath whether or not we could actually take this thing apart without everything just falling down. The next step was to take the roof off in sections. There are 3 roof panels that are held together on each side by screws. So we wanted to keep those intact if we could and just take off half of the roof at a time. The next step was to remove the end gables from the sidewalls and then remove the metal support channels that hold the gables to the sidewalls. The sidewalls are only held in place by being screwed together panel by panel and by being screwed into the base channel of the system that's there on the deck, so all these screws had to be removed as well. The wall panel could then be picked up out of the channel and moved out of the way while still keeping it in large pieces instead of having to remove every individual plastic panel. Now comes the fun part, or maybe not so much. We had originally built the shed on a decking and secured that to the ground with posts in each corner. However, between the plywood on top and the deck bracing underneath the plywood, the base was extremely heavy and we were unsure of how we were going to move this. So we removed the posts in each corner by prying the deck base out of the ground. Then we came to the conclusion that really the only way we could move the deck base was to make it lighter somehow, so we decided to remove the top plywood. This removed enough weight that we could transport the whole deck base to the new location. We then leveled the decking in the new location and put the posts back in the corners before reinstalling the plywood sheets. It was then time to start reinstalling the shed with the walls first and do the whole process in reverse. Support channels to hold up the walls, channels for the doors, and then the gables. We reattached the screws that hold the gable to the metal channel that attached it to the back wall and did the same for the front gable. Next up were the roof panels, and we realized that the right side here had a metal support channel that was running through it that needed to be placed first, but we had already placed the left side, so we decided to leave it there while we completed the right side, and then we had to pick up the left side and put it back on top of the right. We struggled a little bit with everything, getting it to fit back into place correctly, but just moved the shed around and flexed it as much as we could until things fell into place. The thing about these vinyl or plastic sheds is that they're fairly flexible, so sometimes you can just move them around to get things to fit correctly. From here we reinstalled the doors, and my word of advice here would be our manual actually said to put the doors on after the walls were built, but before putting the roof back in place. We had some difficulty leveling them because we'd already secured the roof section, and really the shed didn't want to budge too much in terms of leveling the doors at this point. My father-in-law placed a wood support beam on the inside so that the shed would stay in place where we wanted it to be and the doors would be level. Remember when I showed you some of the bowing on the gable sections from the video previously? I was concerned about some of this bowing that was going on and if we would be able to move these sections and put them back in place. We reinforced these on the inside with a piece of wood, so now it should be stronger. We definitely could not have done this without the expertise and help of my father-in-law and my nephew helping out, and also one of my friends that came over to help us put the roof back in place. It definitely helps to have tall friends, that's for sure. So that's the process of how we went about moving this shed. If you have any questions, I know it's kind of difficult to explain here piece by piece everything that went on, and each shed is just going to be a little bit different too. So if you have any questions, I can try to answer. just let me know in the comment section below. Now the shed is placed in my wife's garden area, so she'll be able to use this as her garden shed while we prepare to have our other shed about to begin to be built. I have this whole process of what we did in this video series here, and I'll continue to add videos as we go with the new shed, so I hope you'll check that out. Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you next time.